Welcome back, ladies and gents. Obviously, we are now into the final game of today. Obviously, the first play day of the brand new season here at the WGL EU. We have a great game of classic players coming up against, well, a couple of newer ones to our eyes, at least within the season, but certainly old dogs overall. It will be Denial eSports, the brand new title of the previous team of Lemming Train, even prior to that maybe Mouse Sports, if you're more familiar with those titles, against WUSA, a pretty much infamous team within obviously Germany especially, but a bit of a universal one with some of the results, but had a bit of a shaky performance last time we got to witness them at the grand finals, but hopefully this time they've kind of reassured themselves, set everything straight, and got ready for what's coming up, because obviously Denial played like absolute beasts. I think all of us remember that one.
Yeah, they were so fantastic. But as I said before, without Elian, the playmaker for Denial, it's going to be pretty hard for them to match those performances. But they've got Nia Pozzoni in there, Ketevan taking his place. So generally a very stacked lineup of fantastic Polish players. Obviously being a Polish organization and a Polish team. And for WUSA, maybe you guys are not so familiar. They haven't been in the Wargaming League. They tried to qualify for Season 2. They didn't manage to get in there. But generally quite a well set of players. You know, we got Siege. He was playing beforehand. He was playing for the other German team.
I remember QQ in there as well. There's been a couple here.
Yeah. They've been around for a while. I mean, some very known, well-known German players in general. And I think a stacked lineup for them. Talented, well thought through, meshed together a little bit. I think they got some communication problems, perhaps, strangely enough, because they are obviously all speaking German. But it's going to be a question if they can beat the old dogs at their own game, which is Denial, and they are very good at this game.
Oh, no, there's no doubting that. Now, who do you think we should be keeping our eyes on here coming up for the first team, obviously? Let's talk about maybe, well, WUSA first. Who should we keep our eyes out for?
I would say keep an eye out for QQ in the 5100 or the IS3. I think he's extremely good. IMX 3090 for the quick maps. And I want to have a look at how Ketevan does in this team. He's obviously moved in. And moved into the team since from Evil Panda Squad, I do believe. So it's going to be interesting how he performs. But that's going to be a strong one for them, and obviously, you know, how he integrates and takes alien space is really going to be the plus or the minus for Denial into Season 4. But WUSA, it's for them, QQ for me, and for Denial, it's going to be Ketevan.
Yeah, and you do raise the point. Obviously, Elian leaving means that Denial eSports, the stats you're seeing on your screen right there, they lose out maybe on some of that decision-making or fight coordination. It could certainly be a problem if that comes into factor. It used to be one of their strongest factors, as you could see. But now we're going to have to find out if it can maintain the same. I'm wondering who will be taking up that first position as to be the caller now, because before all of them gave information to the team, but Elian would be the one to make the calls when it came down to the moments. Now, who do you think might be able to take that position up?
I'm hoping that Nia Pozzoni can in the T69. I think he's very strong. Viol, the T1 players, he's been good. But, you know, I think at the end of the day, it's going to be down to Xenef, who's the ex-team captain from Evil Panda Squad.
That's a very good point. He could come in and do the job quite nicely.
Which is strange, because he only really joined the team after, well, just before the grand final, so he's not been in for very long, but he did some very good calls for Evil Panda Squad. He's extremely experienced. He's been around the game since forever. So I think him, guided a little bit by Carmen, and as I said, Nia Pozzoni, Snip, I think it's going to be a pretty unstoppable force. Obviously, you got to remember that Denial is as Mouse Sports and as Lemming Train, they've been a 4th place team pretty much the whole way through, 3rd place a couple of times as well. So even winning the CBIT last year, so extremely strong. But I think out of all the seasons I've seen them in, this is the one which I'm the most unsure about them.
Yeah, because I think we all saw them on a high note from the grand finals, especially when they played this phenomenal game, and it was above and beyond for them.
Yep.
Lost their star player from that, and now lots of lineup changes, lots of roster additions, picking them, obviously joining an organization there as well. A little bit of pressure from that, so this could be a chance for them either to break into the top 3 permanently. I think if they can challenge in the right way. or even slip further away from the top 4, which would be a real disaster to see after such an outstanding performance previously. And we need to start looking towards the first map. I believe it's going to be Steps. I'm not 100% sure, but if it is, who's got the upper hand here?
Wow, so Steps is really I mean, with these two teams and the changes we've been speaking about, this is like completely new territory for me. We never see Steps, first of all. We didn't see it once on stream in the finals. We saw it off air in the players area, which played by PvP Super Friends, but we just haven't seen it a lot, and it's going to be an interesting map. I think the teams are more happy with it compared to how it was before. It's definitely had some changes and making the south perhaps a little stronger with the deflades and the hills and the rocks in the right position. But we're seeing some interesting lineups. We got the T32 5100 for WUSA, I do believe, or actually I think they're probably going to be changing tanks.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's not something we normally see, but you never know. They could bring out, it is blind picks here, so it could certainly be something a little bit unusual we could see coming out. But WUSA just coming into the league as well. They've still been around the scene for a long time. Do you think they'd go for a cheesy choice first of all, or maybe a little bit of a stacked sort of lineup, or what would be the function of going for something like this?
I think T32 is going to be maybe not a bad pick from them.
Yeah.
I don't think it's really a tank that doesn't suit Steps. It's a little bit slow, and Steps is a fairly big map, 800, 800, but it can certainly fit its place because it is a map where, like on some maps, some of the map is just pointless. You know, it's just no one uses it. And Steps is one of those places. You know, you just some of the maps you don't use, so you can cut like a couple of 100 meters off where you want, and that's allows the T32 to be in the right position at the right time and not be too slow to change positions. So yeah, that's obviously very important. But the final lineup for WUSA is a double 5100 T32 AMX 3090 double tier 1. Double T32, I should say. And for Denal, something more classic, double T69 triple MX 3090 double tier 1.
And who do you think has the advantage here in that sort of aspect?
I honestly, I'm a classical man. I prefer Denal eSports' lineup here.
And overall, thoughts?
As I said, just as with School Bus, so far my prediction's been right. The old boys are more experienced and keep their heads when it really matters. So I'm gonna go for Denal eSports.
It's alright.
Not like I'm pointing out the obvious, but yeah.
But yeah, no, I get that. I think there's been a lot of changes there though, so it's a brave pick. I think I'll join you on it for now, but I do want to see how they really come into their own towards the later part of the season because, well, things can change and they might start struggling a little almost when someone needs to be making those decisions and they don't have the main leader there to be rallying them together. But we'll find out anyway, because in the south right now it will be WUSA, and in the north it will be Denial Gaming. Now, a lot of factors involved here. Ollie, what sort of start do you think we'll be seeing from these two?
So I think from the south, the best option is to head over towards the right side, towards the trench area. It's going to be the better position for them, but maybe the meta's change a little bit. We can already see Potomac and Zenith in those AMX 3090s head up towards the middle road, and something we haven't seen so much of. Zenith actually going to filter over towards the right, join Snip near Pizzorni, only Meritorious heading up the middle, and for the side of WUSA, they're heading over towards the left side, definitely looking to use those heavy tanks to their best advantage and boosting the T32 as much as they can. It's obviously a slow tank, and VirtusPro did it right against Lucky Cracky with the heavy tanks. They just caught them out early on before that HP could mean a lot, before a couple of shells have been exchanged. And Denali eSports maybe have missed that trick a little bit, but Zenith at least playing pretty aggressive, going quite far forwards that AMX 3090, trying to get those spots out, and using the good spotting range, probably max spotting range, 425 meters on that AMX 3090 to its best.
Well, right now, WUSA, obviously in the slower tanks, took their time here. So I wanted to get Foxschnitzel up towards the top of an interesting little position, actually. I want your thoughts on this. They boosted him up with 4 tanks here. And is that just to cover off the right side push that possibly could come down that 9 and 0 line? Or where do you think the real function of this is? Because that T32, normally we don't see such a heavy tank or such a, a big tank put in such a, outstanding position. Is this something that could be an issue, or is this the plan all along? It's
just going to be hard for them to take him down. Like a T32, lots of armor, lots of HP. How the hell are they going to be able to kill him? Potomac gets punished there. believe that's by a 5100 or 300 or T32 down to 750, took 350 damage. So first bit of damage going to the favor of WUSA, and that's the problem for Denial. This is the dilemma for Denial. How do they break a team that has got such a strong heavy lineup? Something we see maybe on Rurenberg, or even Himmelsdorf, even Ensk. Apart from that AMX 3090, how do they break that HP? How do they break that firepower? They can't go for a one-on-one engagement. They have to be clever. They have to find a 5100. They have to find a T32, and just use their better mobility and the better flanking ability to take it down as quickly as possible.
Well, see if that comes into effect here. As obviously a couple of the Denial eSports guys, well, Denial Gaming guys were spotted out there, but you know, only a small bit of damage, and obviously Laurel there being actually taken down moves a lot of the vision away from WUSA, who are playing as far back as possible, playing a very slow and passive game. Is this what we expected from them?
Yeah, I think with that lineup, it's the expected. It's expected. I think they don't like steps. Probably was Denial eSports' map. It's going to be hard for them to really go forwards with so many heavy tanks and go for the win. It's more of a dynamic map. You need a little bit more speed, a little bit more spotting, just because if you don't have that, then the other team is just going to cap. I mean, even if you do win the engagement, if you have a slow team, the other team's just going to go in for the cap and they're going to win. So, you know, you can win two ways. One, kill their tanks. Two, go for that cap. So that's very important to keep in mind either way. But, you know, 6 minutes and 35 seconds left on the clock. Denial eSports going to have to come up with something here, because it doesn't look like WUSA really want to move.
No, they are happy just hiding in the hills. There's very little what looks like incentive for them to move, really. They're happy turtling down and getting a couple of shots across. I think Schnitzel has been spotted out though, so you know, he could be in trouble if he's not too careful. You can see the shots are actually landing, and he does have a drastically large amount of HP to depend upon, but you don't want to be just kind of risking it in that sort of situation. Yes, Zorni there did appear on the horizon, but still, damage now not completely equal, but fairly close. And the missing man, obviously, on the WUSA side now being the tier 1. Do Denial have any sort of advantage, or is it just, you know, them trying to do what they can against a very passive team?
Well, you can see on the minimap, they're starting to close that net. Obviously keeping your tier 1 safe in A4 in case that net does end up breaking. But they are slowly but surely moving in. I think Butcher's probably leading that charge, following Stefan and Commandant getting spotted out there. Maybe he's going to get a couple of shots on if he can, but they are around that corner, and maybe not a good idea for him to do it because he can just spot them. But eventually he's going to have to take the shot because they will eventually find him out. Commandant does take some damage. Butcher gets spotted, will have to retreat. But the MX 3090 just have such good camo value that you can, even if you're sitting in a bush and not 15 meters behind the bush, you still might not get spotted. But for WUSA, they're feeling the pressure, they're feeling the heat. They've taken 3 shots. Denial eSports has only taken 1. LD Nexus managed to avoid that one, but Butcher finally gets spotted out, so he can't go back into that position anytime soon, although as soon as he goes unspotted, he probably will.
Yeah, choices to be made here. Nexus, LD Nexus, will be keeping his eyes, or his turret, certainly trained towards that area, just in case. We saw the damage that was caused just by Butcher being there for a couple of seconds. And as you said, I've got to say, WUSA feeling the pinch a little bit here, under pressure, not really aware of where anyone is because, well, they lost the tier 1 very early on, who could have got these spots out, but none of that will be happening, and now they are just waiting this one through. 4 minutes and 21 seconds. Do you think there's enough damage done that may warrant Denial eSports pushing in? Well,
they have an advantage, and as I said before, it's stupid to throw away one, but not such a big advantage that they can just outright win it. LD Nexus just takes another big hit there, 887 left on him. Butcher probably will try his luck once more just to bring that HP down a little bit more if he can. He has to really nail that shot, and he does actually hit it. LD Nexus also getting turret ring taken down, so again, he'll have to hand crank it, making it a little bit slower, making it a little bit harder in those firefights.
And Nexus is actually in a little bit of trouble here. He did get hit in the back there, but he does manage to just about get away, I believe. He's kind of found a little bit of safety, as you said, but I'm not sure if I like this gameplay. You know, Butcher's been free to peek up, get the damage done. You can see the damage that these guys have been causing to him. Riddled with holes now, and I'm not sold by this tactic by WUSA. I think it's very passive, and we know that it does not win games. And you know, I kind of feel for Denial eSports because they did make the first move. They've done the damage. Butcher's been clinically perfect with his peaks and his appearances over that mound. But I still think it's a risky maneuver walking into a team like this. But Butcher is being perfect with this. Peeking up, doing the job, backing away, resetting, and coming back for more.
It must be so annoying for that team. It must be so annoying.
It's like having a wasp flying just above you, constantly coming in for another little go at you, but then backing away before you can even have a chance to swallow it down. And the entirety of Denial Gaming are on the verge of doing something here, but Butcher is the one to be constantly chipping away, and another shell will come in. This time towards Schnitzel. He's going to be in trouble there. He's down quite low now. Obviously a big amount of HP towards it, but LD Nexus takes a shot. This is perfect play coming out from Denial eSports, considering they don't actually have full vision this time.
And what's really bad actually for WUSA is the fact that they've cornered themselves by themselves in a corner. The rest of the map is Denial eSports, so when it comes to that push, that tier 1 won't be able to run away, and they'll just end up winning. Exactly, there's no escape, and it does look like Denial eSports will have a crack.
Well, you can see LD Nexus there was trying to avoid the shells coming through. He did finally get one back towards Butcher. Butcher down to 8 to 7 HP. But you can see the damage and the comparison between it. Mako eyeing up the choices as well. Materius not too far away. And I've got to say it, there's a lot of HP still obviously on WUSA. They do have some hefty tanks in play. Just the T-32s obviously in duo. And a couple of 5100s. But it certainly looks a viable option. But is there enough time for this? But then again, as you mentioned, WUSA can't escape. Would you still go for it?
I think it's definitely worth. Butcher does take another shell there. But this could be the plan for WUSA. At the end of the day, they knew they will probably get taken a lot of damage, but will the killing blow be able to do done? But Stefan will be the first target.
Yeah, Stefan, massive damage towards him. He's only down to 319. A couple more shells and he will be in pieces. There's a nice little shot from Butcher again. He takes one back, but certainly worth it. He's going to force Stefan out of his position previously and supply more pressure. It's a breaking point now for WUSA. Schnitzel also in trouble. Sish receives 2 shells back to back, and Denial eSports are picking them to pieces here, but Butcher needs to be a little bit careful. He does not want to outstay his welcome. Leave the rest of the entirety of players to do the job too. There's a lot of weakness on the WUSA side, and I think we're just about to see the move in. It's going to be towards Schnitzel first. He's got Butcher, Materius, and Snip all close towards him. The cap has begun, and look how low these guys are going. Zenef's now moving in. Zenef going for the kill. Commandante meeting him on the point. Sish comes back in. Zenef goes low. Mako goes low. It's not a done deal. Mako is out of there, and look at the HP pool. It's going desperately low. 1 minute 24 on the cap. That's not what we need to be worried about. We need to be worried about these guys right now and the HP that they are still alive with. Schnitzel is not going down, but Butcher's taken out. This is unbelievable. Maybe WUSA can turn this one on its head, but 23 seconds left. Stefan is down to nothing. Sish is low. Nexus is low. Only Schnitzel really sitting on anything worthwhile. And with 15 seconds, are they going to make their move here, Ollie?
They are going to go on to Zenef, and it's Zenef going to be on to Shish.
Sish, yeah. On the receiving end, 1v1. Zenef comes out on top. Now Schnitzel, 4 seconds left. I think they've stayed alive long enough. I don't think they can take him down. I think he's done the job. And there we have it. The first map will be a draw. But my God, Denial eSports got very close there.
That was a close game, as one for the books. Certainly, I think at the end of the day, if they'd done it a minute earlier, they would have probably gone away with that win. But they wanted to be safe than sorry and make sure that LD Nexus, for instance, couldn't scamper up north and take down their tier 1 within the last couple of seconds of the game. So safe play from Denial eSports for sure, despite the fact that they probably were winning that. But you could see the kind of damage and just the pure firepower that even on the back foot, WUSA with those tanks could do. You know, even when Denial eSports had done so much damage going into those first engagements, you know, they could just turn around. They could just pot. They just pot shot. They took Zenef out within a few seconds, and it really does speak for the tanks such as the AMX 3090, AMX 5200, and T32. It's just so hard to take down and do so much damage. 1,100, just it's a drop in the ocean. But yeah, great play by Butcher. I mean, I have to respect to him because he's gone from a great heavy tank player to a great light tank player, and that's not an easy step to make.
No, he's looking very adaptable on all fronts, but obviously the first game will be a draw. We need to look towards the second map. We started out on a map that we very rarely see in play, mostly due to the fact of what we just witnessed. There's so many variables that it can come down to that teams don't really like it. It's not as linear or kind of defined, but we're coming to Himmelsdorf, which is one of the most linear and defined maps we can come to, and it comes down to pure skill. So, you know, what can we gather and take away from the first map there that we might be able to apply into this one?
Okay, first of all, we can gather that if any team wants to beat WUSA on steps, they can. They just need to come up with a good tactic because they're clearly not confident on that map. That's probably the most likely. The second is they're just a slow team, a campy team, which I don't think they are. I think they're just not confident on steps. So I think we'll be seeing something a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more reactive from them on Himmelsdorf, as opposed to this tactic they just played where it was, can we just stay alive for 10 minutes?
Yeah.
That's really what their tactic was there. But they are going to be picking up the same tanks, the same lineup, the same players. You know, I think when we look towards the Finnish teams, Freefall and Drooling Leprechauns, they have good heavy tank players and they have good light tank players, and you can see the switch quite often on the city maps and the open maps. But with these guys, it's more of the same. But Ketvan, I haven't seen him so much. He wasn't in the last map, and he's not going to be in this one. And I certainly just want to see how he fits into this team.
Yeah, maybe not fancying bringing him in for this just yet. He's not maybe found his footing within this lineup, but hopefully the tank picks will be starting soon. I feel the Denial do have the advantage here, in my opinion at least, in the way they play. And they're always quite competent on Himmelsdorf, even under their previous names and their previous titles. So gotta sit with them. Currently it is 0-0. A draw does not give you a point. It will just be nullified. So he could be playing out a drastic amount more maps. But then again, we do just move on, so it's not going to repeat the same one. It's just moving on. So, tank picks coming through. Last time we saw was it 3 5100s coming out or 4? It was only 3.
It was 4 for C-Play, yeah.
Do you think we might see that, or not something these guys will try?
It worked for them. They just didn't have time to execute it to its completion. So it's always a possibility. But yeah, I think generally the 3 5100s, the 2 IS3s, you have the mixture of all what you need. You know, World of Tanks, like any game, is chemistry as opposed to physics or biology. It's just about, you know, how everything fits together. And for them, it's going to be a question of what tanks do we need to pick, but also what players do we need to pick for those tanks. Because, you know, personally, I hate the 5100. I've been playing a lot of 5100 lately, and I just don't like it. I think it's a kind of do or die tank in a lot of respects.
Yeah.
For me, I'd be much more happy if my team captain said, oh, Ollie, look, put yourself into an IS3, and we won't take the 4th 5100, for instance.
Well, I think you've guessed it right pretty much. I think it's all a 3 5100 kind of matter going down. I think it's a very similar lineup to each other. So this will really come down to skill, because it is very a symmetrical map in essence. There's very few advantages one side to the other. Yep. Not without obviously a leeway somewhere else over the map. So you do see it kind of paralleled throughout. So we'll be getting underway nice and quickly here. And well, actually, told a lie, I think I see a 110 in the mix. Yeah,
our first 110 of the season is going to be picked up by no other than FKK Schnitzel up on the top of WUSA's team scoreboard there. Not a massive fan of the tank, I think, generally, unless you have... I think the only time where the 110 makes sense to me is if you're on the move and your tactic's very dynamic. Using it alongside that 5100, you can get the side shots off. It's a lot easier gun to use than the BL9, for instance, sported on the IS3. So that's the only way I can think of it. Yeah, okay, it's got better frontal armor, but obviously these guys are using premium ammunition or just the better ammunition, depends which way you look at it. So you can slice through the front of that tank really, regardless. FKK Schnitzel just gets spotted out, but maybe he's going to be looking for that hold down position, which is usually taken by an IS3. But for Denial eSports, most of their team just heading up towards the hill, obviously with those 5100s.
So in the north, as we now know, Denial eSports will be there in red, and it'll be WUSA in the south in blue. And actually, the 110 in an interesting position here, Ollie. What are your thoughts towards this? Is this where we expected it, or?
I literally have not seen that position before. It doesn't have good gun depression. You can see it's already turning to press its gun. It's looking towards the hill. Maybe try and get some shots off from which which is team spots him. You know, we got the Lux on that tier 1 heading up the hill. Maybe if the Lux spots something, they can get some shots off with that 110. It is in the perfect position to get them and also not take any damage. And Snip, Zenith, Potomac does indeed get spotted, and the FKK Schnitzel does take a shot. So that was his plan. Probably going to react to that by heading back. He's probably not going to be staying there for too long. And you can see Meritorious already taking the shell there, but Stefan also receiving one, so 1 for 1. But Meritorious does take a little bit more damage than Stefan does, but that's just the RNG factor. It all gets leveled out as we do head in the game. But Potomac, Zenith on the charge a little bit. LD Nexus, the Lux already know to rotate off that because it is 2 versus 1, and with autoloaders that doesn't bode well for that one autoloading tank.
Yeah, actually a lot of movement coming out from WUSA here. They're kind of pulling themselves all back down together towards the very base of this map in the most southern corner possible. Where are they going right now? What's the end game plan for this? Because I'm not sure what they're getting up to.
It looks like they just want to kind of catch Potomac and Zenith out. I think it's a good plan actually, because Zenith and Potomac are kind of unaware, although Snip is in the perfect position to spot out those tanks. And I have to say, Potomac and Zenith will probably be able to rotate off the hill pretty quickly. But how much is WUSA really going to give away in terms of the map towards Denial eSports here with this push up the hill? That's the real question, and will they actually manage to take down Potomac and Zenith, who are not on that right side, and they won't get caught out quite as easily as they imagined? So,
well, at the moment the first spots are coming in because obviously the Lux did go up. He's going over the exchange, but Siege giving away the game a little bit there. You can see the fire coming through, and actually Denial are well aware of what's happening here. First shell replied, that's on towards Siege. But the push continues. A massive amount of tanks coming up this hill right now. Fire coming back. Zenith receives a good chunk of damage, and actually WUSA, they're not stopping.
I'm surprised. I thought they would just rotate back off that hill, because they must know that Denial eSports, as they are pushing up, down, through the middle, through the left, they know that every single tank from WUSA is heading up the hill. Both teams have taken about the same amount of damage, so that's not really going to matter in the firefight. But the Lux doing a great job of spotting out. Now WUSA, what is the question? What will they do? They're going eSports on the rotate, but if I was Denial eSports, this is a very simple maneuver for them. Sit behind the church with those AMX51s, those IS3s. If you can get a tier 1 in there, perfect. Go for the cap, get the crossfire on, and it's game over.
Well, 46 seconds. I'm worried for WUSA here. I'm not sure if they've kind of given away the game a little bit too much. And only next is the furthest one forward. You do have a tier 1 there as well. Obviously, Laurel not too far forward, but 26 seconds now. You can see the shots being exchanged down the banana road. Potomac and Zenith holding them back, but one man has broken through. I think it's Comandante who's trying to reset this one. 8 seconds on the cap. He needs to move in fast. 6 seconds. Oh my god, he's been held in place for a couple more seconds, and that time limit might be too far away. Denial Gaming, oh, in the last second, they saved the day, but actually, this is very, very close between these two. Stefan and the Code might not be able to get back fast enough to stop this one, and there you have it, Denial eSports. They picked it up on the second map here with some brilliant play. Truly intuitive and very well done.
That was literally Himmelsdorf 101. I don't understand what WUSA was doing there, to be honest.
It was this clear kind of display of, we're all here, go take the rest of the map, guys, we'll just chill out.
It literally was that. It was like an open invitation, and it was very, very plain for me to see what Denial would do. And I think even from WUSA's side, they must have had a good idea. I think if WUSA wanted to win that, they should have rotated off that hill as quickly as possible, making sure they're not there at all. And just ready to deal with that push from Denial. And as I said, you know, if they can get the tier 1 in there, Carmen, put Butcher in front of the MX5100, and it's just game over. It just takes too much resources, even if you get the tanks back, to really cross those open areas around the
And I want to point out, you know,
the church.
Denial are far too experienced to not leave, you know, 2 tanks at least on the banana road, just because they know they're gonna have to cross back down that way.
Yeah.
And you know, I think 2 of the players from WUSA got caught up there in a 2v2 in the end. And only Comandante went around the long way to try and stop the recap, and that's all he could do. It was very short-sighted from WUSA. Not exactly the best display of ability so far.
Not happy with that performance.
No.
I expected more from WUSA. Their first game was very dubious with the camp on steps, kind of putting all their eggs in one basket for Himmelsdorf. Didn't work out with that push onto the hill maybe. and they expected more of the resources from Denial onto the hill. But our next map will be Mines. From the north, I think it's going to be Denial, and from the south, it's going to be WUSA. So for WUSA, we can expect more of a heavy lineup from the for the 5100s and such, the T32s, like we saw from School Bus. And for the north, I think the AMX 3090 is more likely from them. But you know, it's going to be a question of how this map has changed since we've really seen it last. We've seen it once before, but you know, once is not enough to really get an idea how we can see it going forwards.
And to be fair, the last time we witnessed this today, at least, C-Play played perfectly on it. Yeah. They had one of the best strategies I've seen in a while. The School Bus fell absolutely head over heels for. They love following them around the map and walking into every single small trap they set. Right now, though, I don't feel that WUSA could play that role, and I think Denial play a little bit more back to basic tanks. I don't think they do these kind of out of the box strategies. I don't feel that's their style. I feel they're more down to the kind of, you know, chalk and cheese almost. They don't play this out there kind of abilities. But you know, Mines does allow for a lot of creativity, a lot of options.
Yep.
I'm not sure where I see this one really going at the moment. I think I think that Denial have this. I did think that in the last map. So for you, are you sticking with Denial here? Well, I don't think we've been impressed with WUSA so far.
No, I've got to stick with Denial. So good, so good. I love these guys, and maybe even Elian leaving that team has done some good so far. I've just seen impressive stuff, and as you know, as with the case for School Bus, their main playmaker leaving is only going to make them prove a point that much more. And despite the fact that they got WUSA's got some great players, Stefan is good, Unicam, whatever. Sieg, you know, he comes from German team, a couple of German teams. He's been in the World Tanks Pro League, Wargaming.net League Europe now, Season 1, Season 2, Season 3, so he's been around for a while. He's Season 2 and Season 3. But it looks like we've got our lineup set up for WUSA, double AMX 3090, double T690 T2. Not as heavy lineup as I would have expected. I think maybe a 5100 there wouldn't have been amiss. But it's generally a good set of a tank, so I'm not particularly worried about that one.
Yeah, and I'm wondering what Denial will go for. As I said, I've never really seen them as one of the teams to truly innovate their tank lineups. They play the kind of what you'd expect, and they play it well. I think that kind of set well with them during the grand finals, so I think it might do the same here. They didn't have to do anything completely out of the box in the last two maps. They just had to do slightly better than WUSA. Not sure it's the biggest challenge yet for Denial, but maybe we can see a little bit more coming out from WUSA on this map. You know, a classic map that's been played for so long, you know, Mines. You've got to know how to play it well by this point, surely.
Yeah, it's like the original 742 map. This was when Wargaming was testing 742 as a format. This map was being played in the tournament, which was tested on, and it's pretty much been in the map pool since day one. It's, you know, been overshadowed a little bit by Himmelsdorf, I think. A little bit more of an interesting map for me to watch, but Mines is provided some of the best moments. You know, if I can think back when Artillery was back in Season 1, I think Arclit made some great shots into driving T50-2s, and you know, it's one of those really entertainment-heavy maps. I think it's really great. But the final lineup has been set in for Denial eSports. It's going to be a double T69, triple T69, double T32, double T1. So I think indeed, actually, Denial starting from the south, unless they've just picked something very strange.
Yeah, the compliments the complete other side, but
yeah, they are starting from the south.
There we go, it makes sense. So let's get into the action. WUSA will be on the blue side, starting in the north, and Denial eSports will be in the south in that beautiful red. So with a couple of seconds left, counting down, we can have a little look at the overall lineups here of what we're going to be seeing here, Ollie. And who do you think has the better lineup here to take each other on?
Well, I think they've both got lineups kind of suited towards their locations on the map. I would have gone for the extra MX 3090 if I was WUSA, just to make sure you get the hill and really keep it. And it did end up working for C-Play against School Bus, which was our previous matchup. But yeah, generally it's all good. I mean, a full set of American tanks for Denial eSports with a triple T69, double T32, and indeed they are going to be going for that initial bit of damage near Pizzoni, Xenef, Protomako heading forwards, trying to get the hull down positions with the T69s. And surprisingly enough, that Meritorious and Butcher are actually in that position, and Eldinex does get caught out there. Sieg also gets a shell in the track, but doesn't take any damage.
Yeah, so not a bad start considering, you know, obviously Denial eSports did go on a limb almost to do that damage. Didn't get that much done. Was it a worthwhile move though?
Yeah, it was worthwhile for sure.
Yep.
But they don't want to get caught out on the side from the MX-39 sitting up. That's why Butcher and Meritorious are here, because we seen before how deadly the MX-3090s can be if they catch you from the side. You know, they have to worry so much about penetration, and they can just sit there and pump their 6 shells into you. So Meritorious and Butcher doing a very good job there. T1s on each side of the map, keeping eyes out, making sure there's no sneaky rotate on those fast tanks. But the question for me is, how can FKK Schnitzel get himself into this game? Personally, I think I'd prefer to take a 5100 than that T32, just because when you do push, you can provide so much firepower. And you know, really with the T69s ×2, do you really need that extra hull down tank? That's the question.
Well, at the moment, Stefan there is keeping eyes across, keeping the lights of Materius just a little bit further back, stopping him being able to push to the hill, but nice play from Materius coming around. And now Nias Pizzoni joins in, and perfect work from Denial eSports in unison, really throwing Stefan out of position now. Has to fall back, and Commandante left out on a little bit of a limb, but not as much as Stefan. And, LD Nexus up on the hill. You can see there's a little bit more movement from Denial eSports here. Definitely willing to get in the faces of WUSA, whereas WUSA not looking like they want to be the ones engaging so much.
No, they don't want to be going forwards against the might of those T32s. And Stefan does get punished, as you said, and LD Nexus also down a little bit at this point. And for Denial eSports, it's really about just keeping their assertiveness on this map strong. You know, keep the T32s in the right position. If you can sneak a T69 up the hill, it's going to be very, very important. But Commandant and Stefan are the two Denial eSports will be wanting to focus on if they can. And for WUSA, it's about keeping theirs alive, using the MX-3090s in the cross. Tisha's got to be careful that he doesn't get spotted and caught out. Get permatrack would be the absolute disaster for him. But, you know, one MX-3090 on the hill is keeping Denial eSports at bay. And if they think, you know, if Denial eSports think that WUSA's got more firepower on the hill than they do, then they're going to be able to scamper off.
Well, 6 minutes and 53 seconds left. Currently, Denial eSports do have 1 point overall after the first map being a draw. But we are seeing this time, I like the way Denial eSports are starting this out. Good picks of, you know, smart plays, not extending too much, and playing very cautiously, but in the right sort of mentality here. And Stefan really receiving a bit of a beating so far. Lowest by a long margin, down to 640. So definitely going to have to be working his way back into this one a little bit here. You can see the shells are coming through. So, you know, if you're a WUSA right now, what would you be doing? What would you be saying to each other? Because I feel they're constantly, well, they're never leading in these games.
No, it's strange, isn't it? They haven't really taken the initiative on any single one of these battles yet. It's always been Denial eSports to kind of dictate that state of play, and maybe on Himmelsdorf they did try and go for something, but you know, it was just a
ill-advised.
It was just ill-advised and a bad move in general. But 5 minutes and 50 seconds left on this clock, about halfway through the game now. Only Nia Pizzoni has taken some damage, whereas Stefan down to below half HP, about 35-40% for him in his T69 even. And this is going to maybe start something for Denial eSports. Potomac has made up his way towards Materius Butcher. He's also joined by Nia Pizzoni and Zenith, and indeed, that short amount of distance between these tanks has allowed them to go up.
Well, let's see if Stefan and Commandante can get the damage done. Stefan backed out. I'm not sure if that's a mistake or what, but he's completely gone from the fight. Commandante's laying down the fire, trying to save those 1390s, but Nexus and Siege are now alone. Butcher, though, has received a massive bit of damage dealt, and now he's down to 247, and the push isn't stopping yet from Denial Gaming, and Nexus has to back away. There's no way he can stay out there, but Siege, toying with the idea of it, finally backs off, and I've got to say, you know, Denial eSports took a lot of damage just to take that hill. Yeah,
they did extraordinary amount of damage. Is Potomac going to be able to make up for this on Siege?
Well, let's find out. Siege is that 1390, one of whom backed away, but he's being clipped in the heels there by Potomaco. Siege does make it out alive, down to 596. not how you want to be. And who's the HP worse for here? Having 4 tanks midway or having Butcher that low? Which way would you rather have it right now?
I think I would prefer to have it in Denial Esports' way, because despite the fact that Butcher is low, he's still alive, he's still a gun in the game, and that's all that really matters. You know, HP is kind of like a non-stat in World of Tanks. It's not that important. It's just about your gun and how much damage you can do it, and if you can stay alive with the little amount of HP you have. It's kind of a secondary factor, whereas, you know, it doesn't really matter where Denial Esports push, they're going to be pushing into a tank with low HP, and they're going to be able to take it down very quickly. So that's very important. Whereas, you know, they've got the HP in their favor. So Potomac is still on 1143 and Zenith on 1087. But it's a hard question. Making that move to go on the hill is a very straightforward decision. Whereas what Denial Esports has to do now is slightly harder. You know, which way do they come from? Can they peek? Can they use near Pizzoni like they are now? Trying to find a location onto him. And really, what is Siege going to be able to do in this game? Because having him on that hill has kind of allowed Denial Esports that hill.
Well, at the moment, WUSA are flying back as far as they can do. I'm not sure there's going to be much ground that they can hide in if they're not careful at the moment. They're retracting so far back that I near feel bad for Denial Esports constantly having to make these moves because, well, WUSA doesn't seem to know where their W key is. They're constantly falling back. They're constantly playing passive, and you can see why. They are very low. Finally, they take down one player. That's Carmen gone. But still, Siege has to be careful. He's not in the best position possible, but right now, you know, what would you do if you were Denial Esports? Because look at the damage. It's starting to add up against them. They're not in the best shape. They backed away for WUSA. They're going to turtle down. If Denial Esports go flooding into them, we know it can go wrong. So what are the choices here? And Potomako actually going quite far forward. It's a dangerous move. Siege is still there, and he's happy to do this damage. Him and Potomako have been going back and forth at the moment. But, you know, Denial Esports, they're not looking so in such a good shape right now. Yeah,
they got a lot of hard decisions to make. As you said, some damage starting to go into the favor of WUSA. And a very, very good defensive position from WUSA, sitting all the way back towards their cap with some of their tanks. And how can Denial Esports get themselves into this game? They still have an advantage in terms of HP. It's going to be hard for them to do so. Maybe up towards looking towards taking the Lux out, making sure he doesn't get the spots on for the tanks that are sitting back. That's going to be very important. Potomac does dispatch the Lux. This will allow Denial Esports to go forwards, but 1 minute and 52 seconds left. That is the question. What can they do with this? What can they do with this little amount of time? They're going to have to come up with something ingenious. And WUSA still got Laura Lanathal left in that tier 1, so he will be able to run away if it does come down to it. But Potomac does. Oh, is it Seek?
It is Seek indeed. He stayed around. He waited it out. I'm not sure if that was the best option possible. At 39, he's down to 358, and well, Potomako wants to make a bit of a point here. Seek is having to hide behind this rock, play a little bit of a back and forth cat and mouse game because he needs help. And right now you can see the push up coming out from Niers Pizzoni as well over on the other side, and these two just trying to slow each other down, trying to make sure that no one can get around the back of them. Materius receives shells. As you can see, there is damage going on all over this map, and Siege is just keeping him busy right now. They can't come in, but Siege finally gets a shell. He's down so low, but he's buying time for his teammates. Potomako finally takes him out, and this is the final push coming in for Denial Gaming, and it's working so far.
It looks like it's going quite well, but Commandante does get taken down. Materius there in support. Nippazorni, not sure how many shells he's got left, but he's got 45 seconds to shoot them.
Well, let's find out if he can do it. Nexus is further back. Schnitzel on the front lines near on that tier 1. Laurel has to weigh up the options here of running the hell away. 35 seconds left, and Denial Esports look hungry for this victory. Potomako is going to single out Nexus. Schnitzel has to deal with 2, Niers Pizzoni and Materius. Materius does not land the first shell. Nexus is going low. Potomako should be able to make light work of him, but Schnitzel is struggling. He's got the shells coming through, but 20 seconds left. Materius needs one more good shot. Surely he's going to go low, but Schnitzel is nowhere near dead. He's still on 68 HP. Finally, this is going to go. No! Schnitzel denies. And it's going to mean Niers Pizzoni needs to turn around. 8 seconds left. Laurel has stayed alive. But can they really do this? 4 seconds. Denial Gaming needs to find these 2 kills and fast now. Just Laurel left alive. No time is left. Oh, they missed the shot. Unbelievably close. But it will be a draw. But my God, that came down to the wire.
He got spotted, and To be fair, that's a hard shot to make. I mean, like you have 0.5 a second to make a shot, and then you just roll the dice, and if it hits, it hits. If it doesn't, it doesn't, because your reticle will not be aimed down at all. And that really is one of the closest games. I mean, down to the millisecond in that one, it was so close, and WUSA being really beaten back. And you've got to question if Meritorious hit that. Well, he did 268 damage when he's got a 320 average damage gun.
Yeah.
That is pretty unlucky. That's probably why he went down there. So that'll be a draw again. Moving on to our fourth map, Banana eSports still 1-0 up at this point. I think looking like they're the better team for sure. WUSA just not showing us anything.
They are literally, they start out quite okay. They start with like either an all-in strategy like we saw to the hill that fell apart parlously, or they play this, well, we'll make a go of it at the start and then back away. I'm not liking the way they're going about this. They were a little bit more aggressive, showed a little bit more talent at the World Finals at least. There was something there, but today, passive play, and we know that really when it comes down to it, teams that play this passive sort of gameplay don't really ever have the advantage. They may pick up maps here and there, but they're never leading the pace. They never end up at the top of the series or at the top of the finals even. And I wanted to see more, but still, Cliff will be the next map, so we've got that one coming up here. And we've seen that played out so far. It's not looked too bad, to be honest, but I haven't seen the team looking very strong in it. I'll be interested to see Denial's prep towards this one.
Yeah, it's one of those maps that's just come in, so preparation is key. I think for Denial and WUSA, they're going to be on a similar level because they had to prepare for it in the grand finals. That was in our map pool there. So for them, it's just going to be about making sure that they've relearned. Make sure they have everything, all the lessons they learned for the grand finals. They keep those in the bag and maybe learn some new lessons and some new tricks if they can. And obviously watching the VODs back, and that's very important indeed. But I think the Russian teams are generally a little bit ahead on the cliff because it's been part of the map pool for a while. So that's very important to remember when we do see the likes of Virtus Pro, School Bus, and that lot play on cliff. But now we're just going to be picking the tanks for this map. Prediction?
I haven't seen WUSA do anything than go up a hill so far with all of their tanks thinking it's a good idea. I can't back them right now. They're very close in points, but they've never looked close in the games. Currently it's only Denial sitting with 1 point in their favour overall, or 1 map, should I say, because the 2 draws obviously nullify each other. It's just zeroed out. But if you don't see a team bringing anything to the actual table, I can't back them on that. I can't be like, well, they showed promise here and here and here. Not really seen much. Whereas Denial looked a little bit stronger in my eyes. They've been making moves. They've been, playing nicely. I haven't seen them once really been challenged by WUSA there. I have not seen them actually.
You feel like WUSA's... The only reason why WUSA's still in this game and it's not 3-0 is because of the clock, right?
Pretty much, yeah. It's as simple as that. They run it down.
They're just their players dictated by that clock. It's mathematics as opposed to...
And it's fine on occasion. Sometimes you need to play to the elements you have in hand.
Yeah.
I understand that, but you're letting the other team completely dictate the pace, to completely run their own tactics, try everything out, and learn your complete kind of... I don't know. I don't like it. I really don't like passive play on other tanks. I know the game occasionally looks like it suits this passive play. It doesn't. You look at the top teams. You look at Na'Vi. You look at GG well played now. None of them play this passive game. They play these well thought out tactics that can be reactive at times. But there's always other stages to what they want to do. When you just play this all in like, well, we're going to take this really heavy lineup and sit as far away from the opponent as we can, you're literally just putting yourself against the wall and saying, guys, just try your luck and let's hope you don't land all those shells. It's not a good plan in my opinion. I think WUSA need to learn that, or they will very quickly when they don't get many wins in this.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think the best way to look at it is when it comes down to it in 10 more match days, well, in 11 more match days, because we haven't finished this one yet, we still got to go on tomorrow. Which one's going to be at the top? Honestly, guys, if you look at the performance between these two teams, we haven't played that many games, we don't really know, but just based on this, who do you think will be at the top? Tweet at me, Laughter WT and Lauren, they call me Pansy, and let us know who do you think is going to be further up that ladder, Denial eSports or WUSA? My bet is, her bet is, it's going to be Denial eSports for sure, but it could be an interesting one. Maybe wager a bargain on that, wager a bet on that. But Denial eSports already tank line at triple AMX 3090 double T69 double T1 for them.
Yeah, and I'm looking at WUSA. Maybe they could bring something out. Like they'll play out the first 3 maps passively and hope they draw it. And then maybe they have the strategies in the last 2. But that's depending on so many factors that are out of your control. I don't see it working. So yeah, as Ollie said, make sure you do tweet through to us. We do love hearing from you guys at home. Nice of you all to turn out and join us for the very first show here into the new season. And yeah, I'm looking at these tank picks here. I don't think there's anything that's going to surprise us, really. I don't see any 4-1-6s in play or anything along those lines.
No.
And I'm not against the 4-1-6. I think it worked quite nicely earlier on today. Not overly sold, however, but I think it's got potential there. Do you think this could be a possible usage here, or? You know,
yeah, I think if you're going to take it on any map, Steps and Cliff is really the ones you want to be taking on it, right? So yeah. But looking at WUSA's lineup, they're still missing LD Nexus. I guess he's going to be playing a T69, but double AMX3090, double T69, double T1. I'm expecting a triple T69.
Yeah.
Maybe a 4-1-6 actually. It's always an option.
It could be a possibility. But then again, I feel the 4-1-6 has 2 major roles in this that we've seen. Either it can be that sniper in the background, you can be playing from afar and using it that way, or if you're school bus, apparently, you can just charge in there at people with it.
Yeah.
Which actually worked quite nicely earlier
It also
on.
worked for Virtus Pro, to be fair.
Yeah, Virtus Pro championed it, and I'm kind of curious seeing them do that. You know, they ran with it before and they did something similar. They never used it as that background sniper to its full potential. They put it forward, and it's a very fast tank. It's got the possibility for it, but not sold on it yet. I think a little bit more.
I think you're kind of just caught by surprise when you see a 4-1-6 running at you, to be honest.
Oh, what? That's not 1390, you know?
I mean, I can't count up to 4-1-6, so for me, it's just like a mathematical conundrum, really. I mean, it's just like, what the hell is that thing coming at me? Just counting my fingers all the way, but yeah, I completely agree with you.
I think maybe in a couple of play days' time we could see it kind of being utilised a little bit better, and maybe some European style and a little bit of European flavour added to it. Because you know, I look at the other regions; they do play these maps quite differently on occasion. You know, the Russian style and European style have their links, they have their ties, but you can tell the difference between one and the other. So I'm hoping we see this kind of have a European hit added to it in the way it's played. But I think we still look a little bit new to this.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, Europe and Russia definitely can be said to be pretty similar. The skill set is pretty similar. You know, a lot of people say Russia and CS is more competitive, but it just isn't, guys. I mean, they've got Na'Vi, and Unity is kind of a good team, but it's no previous synergy, and it's no Virtus Pro. Let's be honest here. I think generally Europe has got a more competitive 12 teams.
It's a little bit more well-rounded in that.
Exactly. Whereas, you know, IE and CS has kind of just got Na'Vi as just the top team in the world. So it's all balances out a little bit. But yeah, they're kind of similar in terms of skill sets. North America definitely getting up there now.
Oh yeah,
there's
you're seeing
some serious
a lot
teams.
of moments.
Yeah, they've got GG Well Played in, who qualified last night.
Congratulations to those guys, obviously.
Yeah, massive congratulations to you guys, and good luck over the pond. Yeah, screw you guys. Yeah. But obviously they're going to be joining Simp and Fnatic. Fnatic, I think Simp was a more impressive team than Fnatic at the grand finals. So I think I wouldn't be surprised to see more changes towards that team.
See, the thing that I always look back to was the fact that we always put Fnatic on this kind of pedestal. It was like, well. Yeah, they've always played well. They've always been the top of the scene, and then we look towards them during the actual grand finals. It was like, I saw the intention, but it was the execution that always lacked for me in their kind of play. Whereas GG Well Played have always been a side that is very mathematical, very methodical in their gameplay, and it's very hard to break. So if they don't get overcome by ping issues, obviously the latency between where they live and America is pretty far. If that wasn't such a factor, it'd be interesting to see them within the league and see how they do against obviously Simp and Fnatic. I'm hoping we get into game soon. We can shut up because.
Well, we're waiting for LD. We're waiting for LD Nexus, who's disconnected. So he's waiting for him to get back into game, which should be any moment now. That pro-German internet coming into the equation.
See, German internet used to be like the best. Well, actually, no, Dutch is pretty strong.
It's actually gone below the English internet now in the world rankings. I was quite surprised to see that. Yeah.
Like you know, when Virgin Media throttle you for like 4 hours, I'm not sold by it.
No, they've actually fixed that. Like, well, all the internet speeds got doubled, and I think the uploads got doubled, and I think they're going to get doubled again at some point.
Well, here's hoping. So I know a lot of UK streamers struggle to actually keep up with it because
really,
it literally kind of destroy your internet. So
Yeah.
But no, if they sort it out, awesome. We might see a couple of UK streamers returning to us. 'Cause that's why everyone's went, see, BT does some really good jobs. We're not selling you all these products. We're not actually sponsored by any of them. But
It should be, though.
Yeah, no, BT, you want to hook
Tell
us
me a
up with
couple
some
of million.
internet? Yeah, we'll help you
Yeah,
guys
alright.
out. But no, I think we are just kind of sorting out the final players. Next, I think, being dropped back and then throwing in Roofy, actually.
Yeah, they're going to be putting in Roofy because Nexus has just not managed to...
he broke the internet.
To get back in. So, yeah, replace them with Roofy. That's the final word from the FKK Schnitzel team captain of WUSA. So maybe not the lineup they want to be picking, not the setup they want to be picking in terms of players, but I wouldn't be too worried if I was them. Roofy's still a very competent player. He's going to be playing that tier 1, so maybe a couple of shuffling around with the MX3090.
Yeah, but I can imagine whoever picks it up. I can imagine it'll be Laurel, actually. Laurel normally plays the tier 1, I guess, and now running with the 1390. Do you think that was the change?
Yeah, I think that's good call there.
Yeah, so we'll have to see how this one comes through. I think both teams are ready, so let's give them the nod there from us as well to say let's get into game, because this is obviously another map coming up. It will be Cliff on the way. Currently, we have had 2 draws, 1 win, and that win was surprisingly, obviously, in favour to Denial eSports, the team we all know and love, the Polish heroes from back at the day in those grand finals. But anyway, WUSA will be starting in the south in blue, and in the north in red, it'll be Denial Gaming. So very much excited to see how this one goes down. Will WUSA be the same passive team we've seen so far? Will they be able to actually cause a bit of upset? We'll have to see how this one goes down. We'll be sticking on board with Denial Gaming, see what they do, because they're the team that makes the moves earlier on.
Yeah, they always go for that initial play, don't they? It's impressive stuff to see, and you can already see that, like most teams, Denial eSports wants to take that upper position below the hill, sending Butcher, Poto, Makang, Xena first, Meritorious, and Nia Pazzoni in hot pursuit in those T69s. Obviously, T69 isn't quite as fast, not as good at top speed, and not as good horsepower to per ton ratio. But Potomako looks like he's going to be the one going forwards, probably going to be taking up this position. Butcher spawned worse than him, so he's going to be going left around, taking the long scenic route, as to not get caught out in the middle by any of the team, any of the players from WUSA. But Cliff is not really a map. It's not really a map you can camp on. It's going to be hard for WUSA to do that, and Potomako sneaking his way up. This should not happen. It should not be. He should not be allowed to do this.
He's not been spotted either.
Yeah, no, he's done it. He's a ninja. He's just got out there, no problem at all. And WUSA definitely dropping the ball a little bit there, and Potomako getting the high ground to the absolute max. He's just going to be able to spot out pretty much the whole map and be uncontested, because I don't even think the MX3090 has the gun elevation to deal with that.
No, and well, the only player so far that WUSA are aware of is Materius. They have absolutely no idea where Potomako is. And, well, the vast majority of WUSA are at the foot of this hill, obviously. You can see that he was right up there by the tip of that lighthouse, just looking down. And I think WUSA kind of dropped the ball, as you said, not really playing to their advantage here. And once again, the team that take the initiative generally does a lot better. So you can see a couple of spots once again coming out. Nia Pazzoni does receive a shell, but still, I think Denial Gaming, once again, have a bit of the advantage here.
Yeah, Potomako is going to be so pivotal, though. You just got to make you got to make sure they don't lose too much HP. That's very important. You know, if you lose too much HP and don't let Potomako get into the game, it's going to be very hard for them to utilize him properly. It's going to be extremely crucial. But WUSA kind of sitting up towards the middle area. It's just a classic move, I think. Maybe even look towards that rotate, which we saw from School Bus. Something along those lines. Maybe don't go for the lower ground, go for the higher ground. And use those AMX3090s. They got 3 of them, so use them. You got the speed. You need to be making sure that you're being dynamic, you're being maneuverable, you're catching the other team by surprise. You know, Meritorious has taken a shot, make that shot count. Nia Pazzoni's taken a shot even, make that shot count and come up with something ingenious. And Potomako making a couple of blind shots, maybe WUSA will be thinking of where the hell is that shot coming out from, and there's only really one position, and that's going to be up onto that hill. Ashish does try and look around that corner, maybe looking for another angle onto Meritorious and Nia Pazzoni.
Well, he certainly had the back and forth with Potomako before with, when you look back to Mines, so he might be wanting to kind of right the right the wrongs. He did buy a lot of time for his team, so maybe looking to do the same if possible. And as you said, I'm not sold by them using 1390 so statically. They're a tank with a lot of speed, a lot of quick rotations possible, and at the moment, not a great deal of movement being done. 6 minutes and 30 seconds left though. Denial Gaming obviously can't just walk straight in here. They used the advantage they had by getting Potomako up to that point of the hill there, making it rather impressive, to be fair. But I'm not overly sold once again by WUSA.
Yeah, WUSA, they need to prove something here. They need to show us something. They need to show us that they're capable of being more than what they've been so far, and more than what they've been for some of their players in previous seasons. You know, be that team that took second at WCG 2013, only losing narrowly to Team Dignitas just because they didn't actually read the rules and didn't know that the draws actually counted for 1 point. So that's a little bit unfortunate for them, but still beating out Red Rush Unity there. So a team that's proven themselves on the international stage, and that's a rare accolade, and so far not showing that has really come into fruition in the Wargaming.net League Europe for Season 4, and Denial eSports are already starting to rotate around a little bit, fed up of waiting around, and certainly can't blame them. Meritorious going to be joining Butcher behind the rocks. There's a few more blind shots go out. 4 minutes and 17 seconds left on the clock or thereabouts. And really, nothing really happening. And to be honest, apart from Lauren Lanthau, just took a hell load of damage there from, I think that was some blind shots actually, down to 609 there in the MX 1390. And maybe Meritorious and Butcher going to start looking for a push around. Potomako can jump off the hill whenever he wants to, and pretty much just plant himself into any position. It's like a drop from space. He can just plant himself wherever he wants on the map from that hill.
And it looks like Meritorious actually knows that that hill wasn't particularly covered, but now there is a couple of eyes towards it. He won't have such an easy route if he wanted to get up there to join his teammate. Stefan is watching. They know where Potomako is now, so I'm curious to see if they can actually pull this one off. So Stefan Schnitzel sees in trouble, 533 HP. He outstayed his welcome again. He went solo on mines. I'm a little bit worried about him if he's got the patience really to do this. And you know, 4 minutes and 20 seconds on that board. There's, you know, you can see Laurel is trying to keep eyes on that hill in case, you know, Potomako does make the peak. But no one really looking through. And once again, WUSA not making any moves.
Yeah, they got caught out there.
They did.
Pretty much in the same respect that's Lauren Anathals that got cut out, Seek got cut out, and both tanks now sitting around 50 to 60% HP, and that's going to be crucial when it comes to the push, and Denial eSports are going to be going for that commandant. Does get spotted, Potomako doesn't. Some good camo value from his tank. It's going to come into play, but 3 minutes and 35 seconds left on the clock. How much damage does Denial really know that they've done, and will they be making that count? Butcher, Carmen in those two tier 1s. You know, Butcher playing in the MX 3090, joined by Carmen in the tier 1, starting to head around, and this is certainly the first inklings of a move from this team. And even in the middle, a little bit more curious play from Nia Pizzoni, although he does take a fistful of damage from Stefan.
Not sure if that was the greatest of ideas there. Stefan, obviously in that T69, happy to peek up and over the hill, using that gun to its fullest just to do the damage. Materius was close, but obviously unable to just instantly snap towards it. And let's see if that push around the side coming in from Carmen and co will pay off here. Rufi will be waiting. He's in the tier 1 here, had to pick up this role because their previous player actually dropped out. So has spread out Carmen. Materius also being noticed, but still no response, no adjustments from WUSA.
It's pretty hard actually for Nia Pizzoni to move, and WUSA's done that well. They've made sure that Nia Pizzoni, whatever he does, he can't join Materius, he can't join the rest of his team. That's going to be crucial because it's basically one tank out of the equation. Although we're starting to see Butcher look towards Rufi. Actually, it was Carmen with his 20mm Spano trying to get a shot on the clock, but Materius does take another bit of damage, this time from Stefan. And really, he just shouldn't peek. He should let Potomako, who's on the hill, start to work himself into this game with that damage, and not lose too much damage of his own. Although, definitely, Denial eSports still in the driving seat. They just need to come up with a good solution how they can push in and also flank at the same time.
I actually do feel for these guys, because Denial Esports are actually making the moves here, but, you know, when WUSA are literally just tucking themselves into the corner, there's not much you can really do with it. And, you know, it's disheartening for a team who is actually trying to make this happen and, you know, put players like Podomaco out on a limb to make these plays happen and, you know, really get into effect. And, well, right now WUSA, once again, struggling to locate that W key. Struggling to make any sort of real moves. Comandante dangerously close forward, then he almost went overall, but that's the problem. They peek up, they get damage, and then down we go again. Comandante received a little bit of damage done, and now Butcher said, sorry guys, I'm going on the hunt. We only got 1 minute left. Let's do the damage. Butcher comes around, does find that tier 1. Rufy is now down. That has caused a knock-on effect of WUSA now finally making a move. Schnitzel moving in. Comandante being folded in on. He's got 2 players making them. Materius is low though. Comandante somehow staying alive. Finally takes down the opponent. But I've got to say it. Denial Esports still with far superior HP this time. But can they maintain it? Can they do the damage with only 40 seconds left?
Yeah, Stefan just got out of that situation pretty easily. He's going to be pushing onto Volker Schnitzel and Schnitzel onto Nia Pizzoni.
Yeah, but Siege is there on the side. Schnitzel will do the job. So we are back into a bit of a bad situation for Denial Esports. They made the first moves here. They've done what they could, but it's certainly not going their favour. There we go, finally. A little bit of support comes in. Schnitzel now. These tanks need to stay alive here. Siege and look, also join them. Siege surely going to fall. And now just 2 remaining, but 10 seconds left. And look at this. There is no way they're going to locate this guy. He's so far back. It's going to surely be another draw, and I think Schnitzel may just stay alive as well. And there we have it, another draw on the board there. I don't really blame Denial Esports in the end for going for that, because, you know, where's the incentive to push forward when your opponents, they're making no moves?
Yeah, that's this is unfortunate play from WUSA, the first campy team we've seen of the season, unfortunately. But that's going to keep the score to 1-0 to Denial Esports. They're still winning this series. They only need to draw 1 more or win 1 more map and to take it. And for WUSA, really, they can only draw at this point in time.
Yeah.
Which is not really what you want to be doing. You want to be winning, especially in the first match day. It makes no sense. But yeah, we'll be moving on to Ensk, our next map. And again, that clock working in favour of WUSA. Once again, you know, a couple more minutes and Denial Esports would have found FKK Schnitzel, and he would have undoubtedly been dog's meat there. I'm expecting more of a reactive play. I've been impressed with Denial Esports, aka Lemon Train, on this map, on Ensk. I don't think this is going to be a draw. They've been very, very strong. So I think 2-0.
See, I used to question their play on Ensk, the map coming up, when it was especially against the likes of Virtus Pro back in the day. They tried some out there things, to be fair. They had this weird little boxing method they had. They used the railroad a lot. They actually brought in, was it the glass cannon? I think I occasionally saw them use. And they were happy to innovate. I liked that, but it never really seemed to kind of find its own place. So a little bit of a struggling moment there, but I'm hoping they can play this well. I think they will. I don't think they've really been challenged by WUSA yet. I think it got a bit close at the end then, but it was never really a threat overall. No. So I do feel Denial should pick this up. I do hope they do, and if it does draw out, then it will still be a victory for Denial. So as we said, the only option here for WUSA is lose or draw. They can't even go for the win anymore. You play that passively, you never take the lead, you never take control. You're going to put yourself in this position. But we can start looking towards tank choices, what to expect on Ensk. Because it's hard when Denial used to be happy to switch things up here. Do you think we might see a little bit of an interesting tank, or is it too early in the season to be trying that out, do you think?
See, they haven't really changed the Waffenträger, the Waffle Tiger, but they haven't really been picking it at all. We saw it like once in the grand finals. They just don't like it anymore. They found out maybe it's not as good as the IS-3 or the 51, not as good as it perhaps they thought it was. Even with the kind of camo value it's got, it's insane. Like, you can't spot that thing. It's just impossible. So I think 3 IS-3s, 2 5100s, 3 5100s, 2 IS-3 is your best bet going into this one. But you know, LD Nexus is joining us again. He's got his internet connection back up. His hamsters are running again.
The wheels they're turning. They're turning. The wheels are turning.
The wheels are indeed turning. Awesome. And the tracks will be turning in a minute, because it looks like WUSA are ready and Denial Esports are getting game.
That's what I like to see. Hopefully we'll be underway nice and quickly here. Still not sure that Denal will go for a completely standard lineup. I hope they get a little bit of spice in there to show they're still the same team that they used to be with a little bit of creativity. Certainly hoping so, but we'll have to see if that really comes through here and see what they've got coming up. But your bets, you guys do a Denial here?
Yeah, I think it would be a shame if WUSA won. You know, it would be a real shame for Denial because they've been the better team. I think we can all say that. And every single map they've drawn, they've come this close to winning it. Yeah. So it wouldn't be fair in terms of, you know, how Denial have been playing if WUSA did actually win, took the draw, and you know, even those points out. But you know, what can you say? WUSA have been known to be a good team on this map. I can't deny it. And you know, it's a map where, you know, WUSA have proven themselves on. They've got good heavy tank players if they've got anything. You know, like Sasish and Commandante, very, very strong in those 5100s. Indeed, they're going to be playing the double 5100, the triple IS3 lineup. And for Denali eSports, it's the double 5100, double IS3, double T1 so far. Nia Bazzoni usually picks, I believe he usually picks a 5100, but we're going to have to wait and see for that one. Personally, I prefer the extra IS3 on this map.
As you said, you go for the 3 IS3s, would you, rather than the 3 5100s?
Yeah, I think I prefer that. It's
okay.
You know, when you have high alpha damage, it's a little bit better for city maps because you have that one shot around the corner and you got to make that shot count. As simple as that.
That makes sense.
Indeed,
see if they both agree. Yeah, they both agree with you. So I do think we are almost ready here, and I'm certainly looking forward to this one. It'll be the last matchup of today. I think I'll be sticking with Denial as well. I've liked their play so far. They've looked very solid, to be fair. Considering they lost out on the man who called for them initially. Very much excited to see how this one goes down. You know, even without Alien, we haven't seen them truly tested. I think it's the main thing we need to also keep in mind, that this has been a little bit of a light display so far from an opponent, especially in the form of WUSA. We are now ready to get into game here. And it will be Denial Gaming, starting in the north in red with the likes of Butcher, Potomako, Materius, Niz, Bazzoni, Zenef, Carmen, and Snip looking to do damage against WUSA in the south in blue with Commandante, Sish, LD Nexus, Nathaniels, Stefan, Schnitzel, and the Lux. So, certainly looking forward to this. Let's hope it's a good game to end us off with.
I'm hoping for the same. I'm expecting Denial eSports to go for the draw here. I think that's more the sensible thing for them to do. They don't need to win this. They already 1-0 up at this point. They certainly don't have to worry too much about taking the win. They don't have to go too aggressive if they don't want to. But the question is, what will they have on the cards? And what will WUSA do to take this draw? They do have to go for the draw if they want to be winning this one, if they want to be getting any points from this one. They have nothing to lose at the end of the day, so I'm at least expecting some sort of aggression out from them.
Yeah, WUSA have got themselves a little forward here. Actually, I've got to say the point. They have actually pushed up a little bit. They're making their way over the kind of D line. They push forward, and actually Stefan's got the first shot off there. He did manage to find one. I think that was Materius he actually spotted, and as you said, those first initial shots having to hit in those IS3s, certainly being very true there. It did the work. So already WUSA with a small advantage, but then once again, they never seem to capitalize on it. But we have to see if it comes into effect now. Denial Gaming, as we now know, they don't need to even make a move here. The worst they could do is draw maybe, but they can play it smart, they can play it safe. And what do you think of their kind of start so far?
They're just, they're playing kind of the Season 2 like style on Ensk, which is like northern play, sitting all their tanks up north, making sure that they got all the angles covered so the team can't push, and making sure they got line of sight on the other team members so they can provide support if they do so need, and maybe putting the tier 1s up towards the left and right or forwards to get the 50-meter proxy spot and out. If I was worried, I'd be a little bit worried actually if I was near Pazzoni, because he is kind of on his own. So he's got to be careful, and he's going to be able to peek if he can get the shot through, but I don't think FKK Schnitzel's going to be that stupid to do so. We're going to have to wait and see, but as I said before, all the draw is needed, and indeed Commandant will take a big shot there near Pazzoni, trying to get one of his own, but missing it onto FKK Schnitzel. So one shot each, both teams evening up in terms of HP.
Yeah, Schnitzel there playing a dangerous game. You don't want to be just kind of toying with Niaspazorni too much. The man's a bit of a monster when it comes to it. But he did mess up that first shot. And actually, you know, Schnitzel is getting a great bit of information here, and Materia receiving another big bit of damage. I can imagine that's at the hands of Stefan in that IS-3, just barreling down on them. And already, I like the style from WUSA, and they're making a move down the one line, and I'm not sure they've even been spotted out yet.
No, they haven't been spotted. Denali eSports has absolutely no idea. And Materia is just being so unlucky with those shots from Stefan onto the turret. That is a hard shot to make, and he made it every single time. But as I said, Niaspazorni in trouble.
Yeah, but Ponomaco's still there as well. There's not an easy way through. Seish receives a big bit of damage. Nexus as well. Very well played coming from Denial Gaming there. Denial eSports keeping these guys back at arm's length, and Schnitzel going to have to do it calm and soon enough if he wants to come around. But well played to Denial eSports, considering they got caught out, to just throw that damage right back at their opponent.
Yeah, Potomaco just in that perfect position, providing the MX50-100 burst damage that you expect from him. But there's some damage exchange. I think both teams are taking a bit of damage, and it looks like WUSA having a second crack at this.
Yeah, indeed. Seish this time comes round, gets the shot towards Carmen, but look how low he's gone for a tier 1. Laurel pushing forwards. Nexus next in line. He's down fairly low too. He's not looking too pretty. Down to 4, 8, 5, and Butcher just lays in wait, sitting absolutely perfectly pretty. Join Materius and Niaspazorni. And I've got to say, and WUSA, yeah, I wouldn't like to be in their shoes right now, but they do get a good bit of connection towards Materius there. So he's down to a slither of health, 170. And if WUSA make their move, they could certainly make this one hurt, but at what expense, at what cost? Because they're out on a limb here, and they've only got really 4 damage-dealing tanks.
It's going to be hard for them to get themselves back into this game. Butcher, Potomaco doing so much damage in those MX50-100s, and speaking of those two, it's only a matter of time before they come off reload and they really deal that final killing blow to WUSA here. And I think about 10 seconds left on the clock for the reload in the 50-100s before they do push in. Potomaco, Butcher will undoubtedly be teams. The ENF still sitting on a pretty with 100% HP in that 50-100, in that IS-3. So 1,500 HP odd left there, but it looks like WUSA are going to have a third crack.
They're not done yet, and this could be their undoing. I'm not sure if I agree, but they're going for it anyway. Stefan's come around, but it doesn't matter. Look at these guys, they're falling like flies. Niaspazorni now surrounded, but he can certainly do some very big damage. He moves forward, Comandante falls, and it's only really Stefan left in a 1v. It's far too many. With 4 minutes on the board, he's backed into a corner. He's got Niaspazorni moving in for the kill. Potomaco to the right. There's no running, there's no hiding, and now just one man stands. He's going to try and do exactly that. Run and hide, but he'll be found eventually, and 4 minutes is a long time, and there's a lot of tanks to cap that circle.
It's game over, I do believe, unless I don't know what happens. I don't know. The hand of God strikes down, but Snipper's going to be able to get dispatched. Okay, 1 frag going into the, well, 2 frags, both tier 1s going into the side of WUSA, but it'll be Butcher to clean it up, I do believe, and that's 50-100. Actually tracks him, getting pretty unlucky there, but he will go for the ram. The victory round comes out, bringing the score to 2-0 to Denali eSports, wrapping up this series after 3 draws, 2 wins coming out for them, finally taking the series. Ensk, so not surprising, we did say it would be theirs. Also, the first victory was Himmelsdorf, so the 2 city maps, unsurprisingly, going towards the Polish team, Denali eSports. Solid result for them. WUSA gonna have to go back to the drawing board, I think.
Need a lot of work, I feel.
They got a lot of polishing to do, and not a lot of time to do it, since we are actually underway into this season. They need to be, even if it doesn't work, like that tactic on Ensk, for instance, you know, push against Potomaco would have been fine. Ooh. Push against Butcher and Potomaco and Niaspazorni, that was a problem. Yeah,
and I look at their games coming up. This week they'll be meeting Kaznakru on the 28th, and then Virtus Pro on the 2nd. Oh, that's a trial by fire if I've ever seen one. 2 very contrasting teams, but very unique and hard play styles that I'm not thinking they're going to do too well on, if that was their best display so far. But it was the first play day.
Indeed.
And we have Super Week coming up with 3 more action-packed days worth of content. So certainly a lot more to look forward to here. But if you're in WUSA's shoes, it's a long way back to the drawing board, right?
It's 500 miles back to the drawing board for them. It's going to be a march, but I think this is not the last we've seen from WUSA. I wouldn't be surprised if this was just a sobering lesson for them. As you said, a lot of tests going in, but a lot of opportunities to prove themselves. Denali eSports doing the nice thing to us and saying, okay, we can actually win without Elian. And Zenith nicely stepping up with that AMX 1390 play. You know, it's always a little bit odd to see him play an AMX 1390. He's usually in that tier 1 or artillery, but
yeah,
it's good to see him in a proper tank.
Yeah, he did very well, and for a team that, as we said, a lot of question marks towards how they'd play, I think we saw more weakness in School Bus without their old leader, personally, than we saw within Denial, with obviously their old leader being removed as well. So overall, I think Denial look very good going forward. I'd like to see who they're coming up against. I think I need to check that right now, actually, to see who they'll be facing in the upcoming games, because obviously WUSA have probably the harder games out of most. Let's see who they've got. So they have Freefall coming up, and actually the Dribbling Leprechaun. So unknown elements, so have some full of danger, but I think they're in a good spot to maybe do some real damage and get themselves with a bit of a foot up into the league so far.
Yeah. As you said, 3 more match days. We are in Super Week, so we can have a little look of what we got coming up. Tomorrow we got Kazakru versus Freefall. I'm looking forward to that because Freefall is the other team we've got in Season 4 coming in brand new. It's coming second in A Series. Quite a few good players in there. They look scary. I mean, it's the scariest team I've ever seen. They're all a bunch of.
Look at that face.
That is a beautiful face. No, Wilkie's the pretty face there. The rest of them are Vikings. And then we got TCM versus Drooling Leprechauns, and finally the Evil Panda Squad versus Asuba.
So, some fantastic games coming up tomorrow. I think that all of us would definitely like you guys to rejoin us here, because you'd be mad to miss the tank action. So, guys, if you want to see Kazakru, a team who've had a lot of changes, a lot of issues, they've been up and down, in and out in a lot of seasons, never quite found their footing. They've always been on a little bit of a verge of being brilliant, but they're facing off against the Finns, first of all, and those teams, they can do something pretty incredible. We've already met Wilkie, obviously, at the Grand Finals, but we'll be meeting the rest of the side tomorrow. They'll be kicking us off first at just gone 7 o'clock. So if you have enjoyed the action, as Melly told you earlier, follow down below on Twitch. We'll be going live around 7 o'clock, I believe.
Yep.
All of us will be back, and there'll be even more tanks action, followed with TCM against the Leprechauns, the new side as well. And then even after that, Evil Panda Squad, the ones that everyone knows and loves, facing off against Isuba. So, if you like the sound of that, make sure you tune in tomorrow, obviously at the same time, going live at 7. We'll be here, and hopefully you'll be as well.